This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Here's JT looking, first, JT, first down, Jonathan Taylor, rolling, touchdown, Wisconsin, 72 yards.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
And they'll run it. And he fumbled, makes it. Wisconsin has it. Same start for the Wolverines. Slippery fingers.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
And the ball is on the ground again for Michigan. That is their 9th fumble of the season. They've lost 6 of them. Last year, they only lost 3 fumbles for the entire season.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Patterson, play fake, over the middle, deflected, and intercepted by Eric Rowe. Another turnover for the Wolverines.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Cone steps up in the pocket, decides to run it. Look at the breakaway speed. Can he get there? Touchdown, Wisconsin. 25 yards. Jack Cone.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Everybody has it better than you, Jim.
Oof.
Everybody has it better than you. If you were wondering where the Monday mashup was going to start, I think you had an idea coming into this.
Right in Madison.
When we have to, recap the weekend, I think you might have had an inkling of where things were going to get started. If Michigan State just absolutely blew their diaper last Saturday at home against Arizona State,
Fair.
what do we call what Michigan did in Wisconsin?
Diarrhea.
Oh man. And it's not like, because with Michigan State, the ceiling realistically was 9-10 wins.
The ceiling is the roof. Shout out to MJ.
The expectation for me was win a Big Ten title because I'm a lunatic.
No, but I mean, a top defense like they've got, it's not out of this world. They've won Big Ten titles with teams probably not as hyped as this one. You look at 2013, they weren't supposed to win a Big Ten title. This team's supposed to be better than that one. So,
But the point is, Michigan was picked by pretty much everyone to win the Big Ten, to compete for a national title, to, year
if not
5.
now, when, right? That was the whole thing.
You got a $9 million head coach, reportedly the best in America. Remember when Colin Cowherd said Jim Harbaugh is the best football coach in the country?
Colin Cowherd says a lot of things.
He sure does. But he's not the only one who is saying.
No.
Joel Klatt has said things like this. Guys who carry Michigan's water, if we're just being honest about it, have said a lot of times Jim Harbaugh is either the or among the best coaches in America.
Everybody gave him credit for taking a step back, and he realized what he was doing wasn't working, and he brought in Josh Gaddis. It's like, who the hell is Josh Gaddis?
Well, he went and got transfer quarterback Shea Patterson. How's that working out after a year and 4 weeks?
Oof.
Doesn't look great.
I mean, you had, like we said it, 2 weeks ago, you had a bye week to go in and get McCaffrey or get Milton ready. You didn't have to go back to Shea after the last one. And you just did anyways. I don't know why you did. You had 2 weeks. This was the time to do it. So now, if you're not going to him, now you only got 1 week. And it doesn't get easier.
I think the bye week is a good place to kick off the conversation about Michigan. And listeners, just so you know, we will talk Lions. We will talk Michigan State. How much, I'm not entirely certain, but you can be damned it'll be considerably less than we're going to talk Michigan. And it's not because we're two Spartan fans who just want to shit on Michigan. That's like 50% of it. The other 50% is the fact that this is the team you guys, by and large, care much more about.
Yeah.
Based on Twitter, you are much more upset about.
Oftentimes.
So we're going to talk about the team that demands the audience, and that is, for better or worse, the Michigan Wolverines, who, for the 5th year in a row, look like a complete disappointment and disaster.
And even you look at the teams they've had over the last 4, like at least they've had really stellar defenses. Like that kind of thing wouldn't happen to them where they go in and just get rolled. But they've got nothing on that side of the ball.
I mean, it happened in Penn State, but you had Saquon Barkley.
Right.
You had like a
Fair.
generational
Fair.
talent.
And Jonathan Taylor is not a generational talent. He's just
really
the next
good,
dude
but-
from Wisconsin.
Yeah,
that's
they've
really
done
good.
this with
Like,
Monte
yeah.
Ball. They did this with Melvin Gordon.
Everybody.
Every
They do it
running
with
back
everybody.
that's
Get a
come
big
through
running
Wisconsin.
back. Like, yeah.
But I want to start with the bye week because this is like, how many times do we look back at Michigan football under Jim Harbaugh and we look at the biggest games, the at Ohio States or Ohio State at home, or I'm blanking on the bigger, like Penn State when they went for Saquon,
Sure.
where you're playing the biggest game of your season, even Iowa at Iowa.
Dame, yeah.
Notre Dame, yeah, the first half for sure, where the team just doesn't look ready to play. Like nobody looks, and it happens again and again, and this time off of a bye week where in the first half of this game where you go down 28-0 and no one on your defense, no one on your offense, no one on your special teams, no single unit looked ready. I mean, Michigan doesn't. What is the redeeming positional group for Michigan? Is it Zach Charbonnet? Because I can't think of a group that's good.
He's not doing great either health-wise.
Well, he was hurt,
so,
and it
yeah.
hurt, but I
And
think
then-
he's good.
Oh, no, I think...
The
yeah,
receivers,
like,
I'll say this,
from
the
that
wide
standpoint.
receiving core is fantastic.
Yeah.
They don't get used
They're
right.
big.
And
We've been saying it for weeks. They got the best wide receivers. They can match up with anybody at wide receiver.
if I were Nico Collins, if I were Tariq Black, if I were Peoples-Jones, I would be furious.
Bell, I like Bell too.
Ronnie Bell is he's a good player.
Yeah, it really is.
But if I were those guys, I'd be furious with the way I'm being used.
There's
Why
got
are
to
you...
be we're at Michigan. How do we not have a quarterback that can throw me the ball? Like that's my only thought if I'm one of those
Speed and
guys.
space was a complete lie.
Yeah.
Absolute lie.
Absolutely. And no one knew really what to expect from Josh Gaddis. So everybody's assuming
never
it's this
called plays.
exactly. Everybody's assuming it's going to be this like wide open. Everything is great. Everything is modern, if you will. But like it just looks largely the same. Just a few more passing.
It's different
plays.
window
Yeah.
dressing. It's the same plays. They're just being run out of the shotgun
Yep.
instead of a
Different
stack
formations.
eye. It's just different window dressings.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think if you really want to talk about what Michigan football is, I think you as Michigan fans have been sold a complete lie. I think when you look at, and I want to bring it up because I think it's important and we have to cite it because it happened to come out the same week as this game, this MLive piece from Aaron McMahon, where there were multiple quotes from everyone except Ward Manuel, seemingly, which, listen, I'm not surprised, but quotes from basically everyone you can imagine in the athletic department except Ward Manuel saying, bottom line is national championships, Big Ten championships, that's not the end-all, be-all at Michigan. What we worry about is the revenue and putting good young men into
brand.
the NFL. And Jim Harbaugh has done that in spades, and we need to be proud of the work he's done on and off the field.
Yes.
That's all well and
Taco
good.
Charlton doing very well. All these great players they're putting in the NFL.
Which, you don't even have to go in the NFL. The whole point of this story is we're creating good young men who go into the world and
Michigan
do good
men.
things. Right, yeah, good young Michigan men. We don't have to win as long as we're making money. No, you're spending twice on recruiting what Ohio State spends. I think you should be winning something. You're spending $9 million on a head coach. I think you should be winning something.
That strategy only works in basketball and only works if you're John Calipari.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only time that works.
Because at least he has a ring to
Yeah.
talk about.
And because the contracts are so big in basketball that he can walk into living rooms and be like, look at these billions of dollars my former players has made. Like, you can't do that in football.
You have multi-million dollar assistant coaches who I don't know what they do. They don't do it well, whatever it is. I mean, we need to have a serious discussion about Don Brown. We need to have a serious discussion about Don Brown.
They're prime for a scapegoat to try to save the season, right? Like, if they have one more, like, let's say that they got Rutgers next week, so I'm not exactly worried about next week.
Yeah, right.
Then they got Iowa. Let's say they lose to Iowa, and it's because the defense keeps giving up super long drives and can't stop the run, do anything. If you're at that point, 3-2, is it you just cut Don Brown loose at that point and try and save your season? Bring in somebody else, or just promote somebody they like? I don't know.
I think if Don Brown's your scapegoat, that's where you're going to start having fans riot because
Fans are rioting.
they've been but they've been sold. You know what I'm saying? They've been sold that Don Brown is the best defensive coordinator in football. I've tried to tell people for a long time, anytime he plays a decent offense, even when he's had these incredible defenses, he gets popped.
I mean, they had a top 3 defense last year when they went into Columbus?
And 62 points. Or you look at, and then Florida, or in the bowl game, pops them.
Every year.
You want to look at when they played Penn State with Saquon, they got murdered.
They give up every bowl game they give up something big.
Even the South Carolina year, where every Big Ten team except Michigan won their bowl game. I think we need to have a serious conversation about Don Brown because, listen, you cannot have a week off and then go into Madison, Wisconsin against Jonathan Taylor and completely lose your gap integrity. I mean, guys, we're not winning battles at the line, and I get it. Wisconsin has a decent offensive line, very good offensive line. In fact,
Wisconsin. You're expecting that, though.
You got to get push.
Yeah.
You got to get guys outside the tackle box, and you got to make tackles. They couldn't tackle anyone.
No, and going into Madison, and we're far from the only people who say this, like, you win games in Madison in the trenches. Like, you're not going to win games in Madison hitting 60-yard bombs and trying to run up a score. Like, you're going to win that game in the trenches if you win it. It's got to be the battle up front. And they weren't even competing up front. On either side, really, but especially defense.
I wish we had a Michigan person to talk to on this podcast right now because I need to hear from Michigan people. And I've talked to my friends, but I need to hear where people are with Jim Harbaugh. I need to know, because if that were my head coach, making $9 million a year in year 5 at the biggest brand in college football. And I'm not kidding. Like, you can say it's Alabama, it's Ohio State. No. You go look at the most valuable college football teams, NCAA football teams in America. Number 1 and number 2, Michigan and Texas.
Yeah. Ohio State's right up there. And
Ohio State, Alabama, Auburn, whoever. They're all right there.
Sure.
But Michigan and Texas, 1 and 2.
Yeah, always.
You can't do that and consistently be this bad.
You can't, you can lose
You're
a
the
game
New
in
York
Wisconsin
Knicks.
every now and then, right? But you can't lose like that. Like, you're gonna.
And that's the other. Yeah. You can lose by a field goal.
Right.
You can't go in and have zero gap integrity, go down 35-0, and then score your 2 touchdowns.
Like, you weren't favored. So, if you lose by a touchdown or a field goal or some sloppy play costs you in the fourth quarter, it's fine. But I mean, from the opening kick, you just got absolutely manhandled. That can't happen.
I think we're at a point now where the discussion has to center around this. Jim Harbaugh is not a good football coach. I mean, just that.
For right now,
that's it.
Yeah, all the other things would tell you, oh, well, he's won here and he's done this and he's done that. And it's like, yeah, maybe there's a good football coach in there. In 2019, we know he can't call offense. So what else are we looking for to call him a good football coach? Developing a quarterback?
Can't do that.
Hasn't done it. What else do you look for? The offensive line? Not there. I don't know what there is in this team.
He's made the attempts to change it. He brought in Ed Warner to fix the offensive line. It worked last year. This year, the offensive line looks like cardboard.
Exactly.
You look at bringing in Josh Gaddis to call plays. It's really just different window dressing. It's a disguise on the same old bullshit. You look at God knows what Pep Hamilton does. You keep looking at all these guys who he has in his toolbox that he's going to deploy. I just don't know. I don't think you ever win anything. And then I keep hearing from Michigan fan, because I do think it's time to move on from Harbaugh. If you don't win out the rest of this season and go to Indy and then win the Big Ten, which, listen, you've got to you host Notre Dame, you go on the road to Penn State, you host Michigan State, and you go on the road to Columbus. Are you winning all 5 of those games? All 4 of those games?
Oh, God, no.
No, there's not a chance.
No.
You got Iowa in 2 weeks. Are you winning that? I'm not convinced. It's not a guarantee.
I don't think they'll be favored.
The only games
Even at home, I don't think they'll be favored.
No, and really, I think that's fair. I think the only games you're guaranteed to win the rest of the way: Rutgers, Illinois, Maryland, Indiana. That's it.
I think that's fair.
You telling me if you go 7-5 through the season with losses to Wisconsin, Iowa, Penn State, Notre Dame, Michigan State, and Ohio State, are you telling me that Jim Harbaugh gets to stick around for year 6?
I wouldn't, but I'm guessing he probably will. It's just gonna get to that point of who do we go get, right?
Because he's got money and good
I'll
kids.
tell you what. Yeah, but speaking of kids, is he gonna be able to keep everybody on his staff? Is he gonna be able to keep his kid? Could you imagine if he had to fire his own kid?
Can you imagine Christian McCaffrey getting on the phone with Dylan? Buddy, listen, you got a couple years eligibility left. Get the hell out of there.
I would. Or if you're in Michigan.
Or Joe Milton.
Yeah, somebody.
Get out of there, man.
Hey, I know they're Illinois and they lost to Eastern Michigan and they're not any good, but you're not going to tell me Brandon Peters hasn't looked better than everybody who's played quarterback for Michigan this year.
Let me ask you this. When's the last time Michigan put a quarterback in the NFL? Chad Henne? You want to count Denard Robinson?
I'm not going to count.
He went in as an offensive weapon.
Rudolph's a backup.
Practice squad.
Yeah, I don't.
When's the last time Michigan put a quarterback in the NFL?
I'm trying to think.
There's a
I
school
think
in this state that puts quarterbacks in the NFL. It ain't Michigan.
No. I'm trying to think who else has played quarterback for Michigan that's been in the NFL lately.
No one.
Like the only thing I can think of is Rudolph.
No one.
Like, yeah.
Wilton Spate? No. He's at UCLA. He was at UCLA, but like Brandon Peters, is he going to the NFL? No, he stinks at Illinois. What is Shea Patterson going to suddenly be some incredible NFL prospect? He's probably a 6th round, 7th round pick, if not a UDFA right now.
You remember right before Wilton Spate's first full year as a starter, where people thought he could be a 1st round pick. He's
boy.
big. He's got a cannon.
I'm telling you, man. And that's where, like, if you're Dylan McCaffrey, if you're Joe Milton, you're waiting in the wings, and you're arguably the best recruit that Jim Harbaugh's pulled in his time there, get the hell out, man.
Also, I don't know if you've seen the recruiting class. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's better than Michigan State's technically, but it's not great.
There's not a whole lot of bright side here.
No.
And I think, like, I keep hearing the same old argument. Don't you remember what Michigan was before we got Jim Harbaugh? I remember the Rich Rod years. I remember the Hoke years.
Brady Hoke won a Sugar Bowl.
You want to know the facts, though?
They never deserved to be in the Sugar Bowl.
There is no... Well, that's one thing. And also, they flat out refused to play in it if Boise State were the opponent. Yeah. So they forced the NCAA into putting a cupcake in that game. I digress. Do you know what the difference between 3 wins and 10 wins is? Absolutely fucking nothing. If you're not putting anything in the trophy case, 3 wins and 10 wins is exactly the same spot. Yep. Exactly the same spot. I remember what we were before Harbaugh. You are still that. Yeah. Just because you win 10 games and get punked by Ohio State and then get punked in a bowl game doesn't mean you're doing better. Just because you're bringing in higher recruiting classes doesn't mean you're doing better. And you are doing, in fact, you could say you're doing worse because you're bringing in higher recruiting classes and you still can't do anything.
I mean, and there's, I don't want to get too far into it because I'm not fully, let's call it involved, but there are rumblings in that building. There are players on that team who are about done with their position coaches. It's not just Harbaugh. So it's hiring the right people. You get guys recruited by all these coaches who bailed for other places this year, and now you get all these different coaches in. There's a lot of things going wrong with that program underneath Jim Harbaugh. I said everybody can point and be like, he's got to fix this, he's got to fix this. It's about who he hires, too.
Yep.
And he hasn't made great decisions in that regard.
And it's about just like, listen, whether it's fair or not, everything starts at the top. Yeah, and we're talking about year...
How do you kill the snake?
5. Year 5. I can run through all of the coaches in Power 5 schools. You know which ones took more than 5 years to win their conference and have won their conference recently?
I mean, there are some who did it in multiple conferences. Or did it in the same conference twice. Look at Saban, LSU, and then Alabama. Urban Meyer with Utah, well, the Mountain West is whatever.
If Jimbo Fisher can get it together at Texas A&M, he has a shot to do it. He won the ACC in 3 years. Yep. You know who's taken more time than that to get it done and won their conference? Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
And Gary Patterson at TCU. That's it.
And those guys have jobs forever.
Now, if you want to tell me that Michigan is TCU or Oklahoma State, we can have that conversation.
Hey, now.
But I don't think Michigan wants to have that conversation.
I don't think so.
Because guess what? You're not.
I'll tell you what, though. You look at the comparison between Oklahoma State and Michigan right now, and it's not that far off. Pretty eccentric former quarterback as your head coach who's probably never getting fired no matter what he does. Like, man, you're a lot more Oklahoma State than you think you are.
You're a lot more Oklahoma State than you are Ohio State or Alabama, I'll tell you that much.
That's 1,000% correct.
And you got a fan base that thinks you're Ohio State, Alabama. And I don't even think the fan base thinks that anymore. I think at this point, like the Ohio State loss, 62 points, did a lot to bring Michigan, to like sober people up who were under the influence that Harbaugh was still the Messiah. 62 in Columbus did a lot to sober that thought process.
Because that was the year. Like, that's the moment right there, right? We're going into Columbus. We beat Ohio State.
You
back.
Were favored as a road team in the shoe.
Right, and that's the boom, we're back game. And then it was like, oh, wow, we are not back.
Not even close. And I think that went a long way to sobering people up. But then this year you come back and you go, well, on paper, we have the best team in the country. Ohio State's got a new head, or the best team in the conference. Ohio State's got a new head coach, a new quarterback, a new scheme. They don't have the same deal. We don't know what's going on there. Michigan, it's year 5. We've got all of Harbaugh's players. We got all of Harbaugh's schemes, new offensive coordinator. It's time we're going to go and get it done. No, you're not.
No, you didn't.
And if not now, when is exactly it? And that's where I'm going. Listen, you can't tell me that you are TCU, that you are Oklahoma, because I'm looking at the list right now. College football's most valuable teams 2019. Number 1, this is a surprising one. This is going to shock you. Texas A&M. Number
They do
1.
have so much oil money down there. That's wild.
Yeah, it's a ton. And they just pump money into it. Number 2, Texas. Number 3, Michigan. You are more valuable. Ready? You are more valuable than Alabama, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Georgia, Notre Dame, Florida, Auburn, LSU, Tennessee, Penn State, Oregon, Florida State.
Florida State, Jesus.
You are more valuable than Clemson. Clemson is 25.
Let me ask you this. If he were to get fired this year and the Florida State job comes open, who gets their guy first? Michigan or Florida State?
I don't know, man.
Which job does Josh Heupel take? Which job does Graham Harrell take?
I think they're similar gigs, really.
Yeah, that's what I'm
you
saying.
You go to Florida State, you gotta beat Clemson. You go to Michigan, you gotta beat Ohio State. There's the mountain that you have to overcome.
For sure.
But valuation, expectation, I think they're kind of equal. Recruiting pipeline, Florida State probably has a slight edge, but
State
they're not
income
going.
tax.
They're never going to out recruit Michigan.
No.
But no, I think like, hey, do you want to live in Tallahassee or do you want to live in Ann Arbor? Check Tallahassee
More
there.
girls here too. Yeah.
I'm pretty. That's not a tough choice.
No, I'm good. I'll go there.
But that's kind of where I'm at with Michigan. Is like this whole talk that we can't get anyone better than Harbaugh. You don't have to get anyone better than
No.
Harbaugh. You just have to get someone who's not Harbaugh.
Like it's not something better you're looking for. I mean, I suppose it's something better you're looking for, but the main thing is it's just got to be something different. Like it's got to be, and I know this is gonna scare the shit out of Michigan fans, but it's got to be a jump from Lloyd Carter, Rich Rod. It's just got to work this time. Like that's
and
really what it is.
Not even that it has to work this time. You have to not fire the guy
Yeah,
the same
after
year
3
that he
years.
finally
Like,
implements his scheme.
Yeah. Like
They got better every season. They're like, oh, see ya.
you have to kind of tolerate losing at home to Toledo if you're trying to reshape your program.
Like, let me say this. It's not Brady Hoke was a horrible football coach.
He was.
Awful.
He was.
It's not a coincidence that he won the Sugar Bowl and won 11 games in his first season, the first year that all of the players were Rich Rod players, and he didn't change the scheme from a spread. He kept the spread in place because those were the players he had.
And he had a good defense.
He didn't go full pro style till year 2.
Right.
He had Rich Rod's team and Rich Rod's scheme, and he won 11 games. You keep Rich Rod around, maybe you are back right now. Maybe you never need to go get Harbaugh. Maybe Rich Rod's still coaching the team.
Seriously.
Like, I'm not even kidding.
There's a ton of like what ifs around. I can't remember the name of the book, but the Rich Rod book about Michigan. There are a billion what ifs of like if this guy doesn't get hurt here, if this doesn't happen, and they win this game or they don't lose to Toledo or do this, all these things were like, yeah, Rich Rod. It probably would have worked if you gave it one more year.
can't
It probably
lose
would have
to
worked.
Toledo.
No, you can't, and you can't get shit on by Mississippi State in a bowl game when you know your job's on the line.
And when your job starts with Appalachian State, not great.
So, well, no, that was like.
Oh, you're right. You're right. That was his last year. But when you're rebounding from that, not great.
No, it's tough.
And no, I think like
Because remember, that team was 5th in the country when they lost to Appalachian State, coming off finishing 2nd in the country.
But that's also like, where has that fire from the athletic department gone? Where 3 years and you haven't done enough. See ya with
We
Brady
just need
Hoke.
to get Dave Brandon back.
Yeah, with oh God, Pizza Man with Brady Hoke. 4 years. See ya. You're out. Jim Harbaugh. Year 5. You've lost to Wisconsin, and your athletic department is coming out and making public comments about, we just need to be proud of the job he's doing off the field.
Honestly, though, like, how many of these games do they have to lose for him to actually make a move? Like, if would Warden Manuel just be like, hey, it's not working, we have to figure something out, whether it's you got to blow away your whole staff and we got to find these go hire some NFL team's passing game coordinator, go hire whatever else.
Well, and you know
or
what they're
you're
going to
just
end up
gone.
doing is they're going to pull Les Miles from Kansas or something because he's a Michigan man.
Oh, dear God. Because clearly that's worked so well, the last two. I mean, if they lose to Iowa at home, if they lose to Notre Dame at home, and if they lose to Michigan State at home, I don't think there's any way you can justify it. That's 4 losses on the year before you play Ohio State. So, and 3 of them at home. And Army in double overtime. Like, you lose those 3 games at home and then get beat by Ohio State because you're going to get beat. You got 4 home losses.
Yeah, you're not winning against Ohio State.
No.
You're
so
just not.
That would be 4 home losses against those teams. I think you have to fire him.
No, I think he has all 3 of his rivalry games, and they're all in Ann Arbor. Mm-hmm. If you go 0-3, Michigan State, Notre Dame, and Ohio State this year,
and Iowa's at home,
and you finish the year, but Iowa's not the rivalry game.
But I'm saying, if he loses that one too, that's 3 home losses before you even have Ohio State.
And I think then if you finish the season 7-5, I don't know that he can survive a 7-5 finish. I really don't.
The seat would be so hot all off season. Recruiting would tank. Everything, like his seat would be red hot.
No, if he goes 7-5 this year, recruits will drop like flies.
Absolutely.
And I think that's when you start seeing boosters and donors going, "What am I fucking donating for?"
You're staring down another beat-ups bowl. Like, you don't want that.
You're going to be in the Redbox Bowl just like Michigan State was. I mean, really, people want to joke like Michigan State is some inbred program in comparison to Michigan. You guys are on the same level.
Really.
Like, if you want to be honest about it, Ohio State is tier 1. They are the only elite team in the Big Ten. Wisconsin and Penn State are tier 2. They consistently compete.
Yeah, we thought Nebraska was going to be good this year. They're ass.
You know who's tier 3? Michigan State, Michigan, Nebraska, Minnesota. Like, you want to put all these Indiana, all these mediocre teams where you have Iowa, you have a 10-win ceiling and a 3-win floor.
And every now
that's
and
your
then,
tier 3.
Every now and then they show up in a Rose Bowl.
You can go to the basement and talk about Rutgers. You can talk about Maryland. You can talk about Illinois. But that's where you are not in the top half of this conference. If you're Michigan, you are not above Michigan State. You are on the same level.
I mean, still have not gotten to Indianapolis. Like, still, Michigan State's been there 3 times.
So my question is, where is the cachet of this program gone? Like, swing your dick a little bit. Throw a bag at someone. Oh, we can't find anyone better than Jim Harbaugh. Dude, go throw a bag at Steve Sarkisian and steal him from Alabama.
And honestly, I keep bringing up Graham Harrell just because I'm obsessed with USC's offense because they literally found another quarterback.
And I'm telling you, if you need quarterbacks in Michigan.
Why did Josh Gaddis and not Graham Harrell? Like, why? What about
because
Josh
Alabama.
Gaddis? Right, but is it just the Saban angle? Like, what about Josh Gaddis made you think he was going to be a better play caller than a Graham Harrell?
He never called plays in his entire career. I mean, go throw a bag at Steve Sarkisian. Go throw a bag at Dana Holgorsen at Houston. Just, hey, I know you're fresh there, 2 years, but hey, we're going to give you the $9 million a year. Come coach at Michigan. Yeah. Oh, I think Dana Holgorsen would pick that one up.
I know. I don't think anybody's ever going to get him because I think where he's at is the perfect place for him. But Mike Leach, like, that'd be so much fun to have Mike Leach and D'Antonio in a rivalry against each other.
The thing with Mike, it would be fun, but the thing with Mike Leach is he's athletic director and head coach. I don't think there's a chance you're getting him from
That's what I'm saying. It's the perfect spot. Where he's at right now is the perfect spot for Mike Leach. Just up in the Northwest, kind of just hanging around, not doing a damn thing for his defense.
Jim Harbaugh is also essentially athletic director and head coach. Yeah. You can't convince me Ward Manuel leads a meeting. Or like, do you think David Cutcliffe is set at Duke?
Yeah. I think other teams have tried. I think Tennessee went after David Cutcliffe if he's not going to go to Tennessee.
Tennessee's not Michigan.
Yeah, but he was the OC there.
Tennessee's not giving you $10 million a year.
Oh yeah, they were for David Cutcliffe. Maybe not $10 million, but I bet they threw a bag at David Cutcliffe. Like, you think they wanted Greg Schiano before David Cutcliffe?
Probably not.
Like, and he was the OC for Peyton. I'm sure Peyton's support was behind him, and he still just didn't want to leave Duke. I think he's just happy there.
The point is,
he doesn't have to win.
There are names. That's true.
Oh yeah.
There are guys you can go and get, and it doesn't matter. Like, who's Syracuse head coach? What's his name?
I should definitely know that.
I gotta look it up, but I've been thinking of it all week because I'm like, and listen, I know the people are listening to this and they're going to go, Syracuse, they're having Dino Babers. They're going to be looking at this or listening to this and they're going, Syracuse having a terrible year. They can't score. Syracuse isn't getting recruits that Michigan gets.
No.
It's the same thing with Rich Rod, where he left and people go, well, he did shit at Arizona and now he's the offensive coordinator at Ole Miss. 2 schools that don't get recruits that Michigan gets.
And first of all, he was okay at Arizona. He made some mistakes with who he gave sideline passes to that cost him. But he had a fun team to watch at Arizona. They beat an Oregon team one year. They were in a Pac-12 championship game. They beat a Stanford team. He did okay in Arizona probably getting the worst of the good recruits on the West Coast.
Maybe don't fraternize with
Don't do that.
coworkers.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't have your wife on one end of the sideline and your mistress on the other. It's
Maybe.
not a good idea.
Might have been a bit of a mistake, but no,
Also,
I think
be careful who you CC on those emails.
if Auburn weren't good, you could go get Gus Malzahn. I know I don't like him, but there's names, man. There are people you can go get.
sure.
I don't think you're poaching Lincoln Riley.
No.
But throw $10 million at him.
Try.
You're Michigan. Swing your dick.
If you're going to continue to say we're Michigan, then let's see it. Be Michigan.
You're already spending double what Ohio State spends on recruiting. Cut that down to exactly what Ohio State spends on recruiting and throw the other half into a contract that you then throw at a Lincoln Riley or a Steve Sarkisian or a Graham Harrell
Or go find the next guy.
Go get Chris Creighton from Eastern.
Sure.
What the hell? There's no way Eastern should be winning 6 games a year.
No.
They pay $10 million
Have
in
you
the
seen their
first 4
stadium?
weeks.
It has great turf.
First 4 weeks of the season, they spend $10 million to go play at other stadiums. They win 6 games. That's a miracle. Give Chris Creighton $5 million a year to come coach at Michigan.
That's what I'm saying. Go find Lincoln Riley. Because Bob Stoops found Lincoln Riley, right? There's got to be somebody. So hire a search firm, whoever you got to get, and go find the next guy.
Everybody keeps looking for the next Sean McVay. So what did Michigan do? They went and got a guy who played quarterback in 1986 and hasn't adopted a new playbook or a new offensive coaching style. I'm tired of hearing. It's the same thing for me at Michigan State, right? Because everybody you don't want to talk about your head coach. You don't want to have conversations about your Spartans. Stop talking about my. Listen, I called for D'Antonio's job last week on this podcast,
And I meant it.
I'll be at the ceremony when they put the statue up, but I called for his job. I want him gone. It's time. We got to move on.
And also, 31 points in Northwestern does not change my mind. I'm happy they won the game. Does not change my mind one bit.
I wish that we had the money, the cachet, and the recruiting base, the brand name of Michigan in East Lansing, that we could throw $10 million at Steve Sarkisian and say, hey, come coach the
I
Spartans.
would love to get Mike Leach.
But you know what? We don't. We're not getting Sarkisian. We're not getting Leach. We're not getting Graham Harrell. We're getting Mike Tressel to be promoted to head coach and punt a few years until Pat Narduzzi's contract runs up at Pitt.
If you can even get him out of Pitt.
That's what we're getting. That's what the athletic department is going to do. That's because you can't convince me D'Antonio is going to retire and not have a guiding hand over the program.
Exactly.
He's going to step down from the position
resign.
and be athletic director in some capacity or assistant to the athletic director and basically oversee the coaching hires at Michigan State. You can't convince me otherwise. The point is, when he leaves, which I want to be soon, I'm not afraid of the unknown because I know that I'm getting something different than 10-7 at home against Purdue.
Right.
I know that I'm getting something different. And that's where it's like, don't you remember what it used to be before Harbaugh? We went 3-9. Well, you know what? You're going 10-2, but you're losing the same big games and your trophy case is still empty.
If it's 10-2 and the wins are against Purdue and Illinois and Indiana and whoever you played in the non-conference earlier in the year that isn't good, then your season is still shit because your season is based on, did we beat these 5 teams? No, we didn't.
Oh, well, we just had a bad game against Ohio State, and then there wasn't anything to get up for in the bowl game last year, but we were a really good team. No, you were an average team, and you were lucky that you went up against an injured Trace McSorley, that Alex Hornibrook was the quarterback at Wisconsin, that Brian Lewerke's shoulder was duct taped to his body. You were lucky. You went into East Lansing and beat a Michigan State team that couldn't trip over themselves for a first down. What was the final score, 17-7? 21-7?
21-7, yeah. 21-7.
I mean, Michigan couldn't score until the fourth quarter.
Right, yeah. It was close for 3 quarters.
It was 7-7 at the end with 2 minutes left in the third.
Yeah. And go back to that point real quick of Michigan State, we know it sucks, but again, the best we're getting is Mike Tressel. We're not going out and stealing the next guy. You can do that if you're Michigan. So why can LSU go find Joe Brady and make their offense look amazing now? Okay, well, he's the passing game coordinator and the wide receivers coach at LSU. That's not going to be the case next year. Somebody's going to make him, at the very worst, offensive coordinator, at the best, head coach.
And it might be LSU, but he's going to be an OC,
exactly.
Or he's going to be an ACC.
So maybe pay him more than LSU will pay him to be your OC. If you're Michigan, go get the dude who's making Joe Burrow look like a Heisman winner.
At some point, Harbaugh's got to step aside.
Right.
And I don't think it's the answer. I'm at a point now where as long as he's the head coach of that football team, as long as he's making the decisions on the field, you're never going to win anything.
Right.
I'm convinced. You will never win anything with him.
And there are a lot of people who think, yes, he might be a really great recruiter, but the guys he has now, all his best recruiters are gone. They left after this
Greg
past
Madison.
year. Yeah.
That was Greg Madison leaving, and I told this to all my Michigan fan friends. Greg Madison leaving was the worst thing that could have happened because he was the most important assistant coach you had.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hear about Don Brown. I don't want to hear about Pep Hamilton. I don't want to hear about any other. I don't want to hear about Ed Warner. Greg Madison opened up the recruiting pipeline to Ohio. When he left, you were fucked.
And not just Ohio, like Ohio, yes, but he can go at it. He's Greg Madison. He can walk in the room and be like, yeah, I coached Ray Lewis. Yeah, I coached this guy. Yeah, I
Yep.
coached this guy. Yeah, I coached this guy. Look at all this. Like, he can go anywhere. He's Greg Madison.
And
Everybody
I'll tell
knows his
you,
name.
it is not a coincidence that Greg Madison's coaching at Ohio State, and now they look like the same defense you
is
put on the
mean.
field last year.
Like, They
It's
were
not
down
a
5-0,
coincidence.
and then all of a sudden they were not down 5-0 anymore.
All that pomp and circumstance surrounding Don Brown and that Amazon special, man. I'm telling you, Don Brown's been one of the most overrated coaches in America for years. And it's finally showing. Because did you see the defense on that QB sneak that they scored the touchdown on?
Yeah, I mean-
How do you not line someone up over the gap?
Even the first touchdown, when they were going for it on 4th down, like earlier, or maybe it was a 3rd down. I can't even remember. It was like, I'm sitting there watching it happen, and I'm like, this is going to be a 25 dive. Like, they're lined up. I know it's going to be a 25 dive. They ran a little misdirection, but in the end, it was like a 25 counter. It's like, how did you not know that was coming? I know that's coming. It's Wisconsin.
You know what you're getting when you play Wisconsin. You know they're going to power run. You know they're going to attack the trenches. You know they're going to try to win up front. So what do? Don Brown with a week to prepare, an extra week to prepare because of the bye week.
And I get Wisconsin did too, but like, you had an extra week.
But Wisconsin's
The
not
point
putting
remains,
it. They're not
Wisconsin's-
installing
yeah,
some creative
Everything
offense.
Wisconsin did is what they've been doing.
So Greg Madison with an extra week to prepare installs this defense where they don't maintain gap integrity. They miss run assignments. Like nothing. They did nothing right. There is not a single redeeming positional group in Michigan outside of their wide receiving core. Not one. The quarterback sucks.
Yeah.
Shea sucks.
I mean, for all intents and purpose, all three of them weren't very good. Like, Milton is probably the most talented one of the three.
And I feel bad for Dylan because he got hit out of the
Yeah,
game
that
immediately.
sucked.
But
He was not great.
no, Shea stinks. I mean, and that's on Harbaugh. At some point, you can't bring in the biggest transfer in college football history and not develop him.
Biggest transfer in college football.
You remember that? He was.
It's
There was
up
never
there.
a bigger transfer than Shea Patterson until Jalen Hurts went from Alabama to Oklahoma.
Fields. That's another big one.
But that- again,
they
that was
just keep
last year.
making- Yeah, they just keep building and building. Now everybody's in the transfer
Joe Burrow
portal.
wasn't the
There's
cachet of
gotta
Shea
be one
Patterson.
that was bigger. There's got to be one.
It was
Ryan
Shea-
Mallett. Shout out to him. He
Shea
was in the news
Patterson,
recently.
he is the reason the transfer portal exists.
It's fair. It's fair.
And you haven't won anything with him. You haven't developed anything.
Not
you
only
haven't
not
developed
won
him.
anything with him. Yeah, he doesn't even look good.
He looks terrible.
I mean, what is he?
It's the
Fifth,
second
sixth
offense
best
he's
quarterback?
been in. It's
Like,
I mean, if you're power ranking the Big Ten right now, obviously Ohio State and Wisconsin are in their own space. Wisconsin is closing the gap on Ohio State, but it's still a healthy gap.
I mean, but think about how many quarterbacks there are in the Big Ten who Michigan would rather have than Shea Patterson.
Justin Fields.
That's not something that should happen in Michigan
Justin Fields, Jack Cohn. Would you rather have Lewerke than Shea Patterson?
at this point.
I think there's an actual conversation to be had there, and I don't love Lewerke.
No, but I'm not going to put the offensive struggles on Brian Lewerke at this point.
No, I don't think quarterback's the problem in Michigan State at all. I think play calling and a lot of other things, offensive line,
And I'll take
the inability to
Martinez
get your
from
running
Nebraska
game,
before Shea Patterson.
personnel rotations. Oh yeah, Martinez I would take easily.
Yeah. I'd take the kid from Purdue.
That kid at Northwestern, he's a 5-star kid, doesn't look like one, but I think a lot of that has to do with he's playing in Northwestern, and they've had a lot of turnover. I think but that's where,
And I think Northwestern even more is on the up and up. They got a brand new facility. They know every kid who gets recruited by Northwestern knows that their head coach is going to be there no matter what. Like,
If
that's
you-
an advantage. Everything's an advantage.
if you got to power rank the Big Ten right now, 1, Ohio State, 2, Wisconsin, give me 3, Penn State,
Yeah, it's got to be Penn State at this point.
4, Iowa,
4, yeah, I guess. Man, that's tough.
5, Michigan State.
Yeah, right there. 4 and 5, you could flop Michigan State and Iowa. And I'm only saying that because Michigan State won this week. Because I still
In a
like,
situation where they never would.
Yeah.
The Arizona State game was ugly and unforgivable, but God, I feel like such a bitch saying this. The goal is still in front of you. You haven't lost a Big Ten game. Go win your Big Ten games.
Arizona State lost at home this week to Colorado. It's whatever.
I think we're really bad.
Exactly. Like, I don't think that 31 points doesn't make me feel good. I feel like Indiana's going to take us to overtime this week. It's like we're not good. Don't tell me no one's going to tell me we're good.
Hey, at least we have the best college basketball team in the country.
That's fair.
So that's kind of all I have for Michigan. Is just like the whole overarching narrative is I keep hearing about how things are so much different now than they were, and I just want to hammer home the point. Whether you win 3 or you win 10, if you don't put anything in the trophy case, nothing has changed.
Exactly.
If you're not beating Ohio State, nothing has changed.
If you're Michigan, you have to be Michigan. If you're going to keep beating your chest and saying we're Michigan, okay, let's see it. Like, that's all it is. Like, put something in the trophy case, put a banner up, metaphorically, because I don't have banners, but do something that says, yeah, we're Michigan, see? Not just, yeah, we're Michigan, without saying, see? There's nothing to see. You're just saying we're Michigan. Let's see it.
Yeah, show me.
Yeah.
And they showed me, you know what they did is they showed their ass, and you showed me who you are. You are Michigan. You're trash.
Yeah. You're not old Michigan anymore. Old Michigan is dead.
They've been.
It died with Mike Hart and Chad Henne.
And what is old Michigan anyway? I mean, we keep talking.
Yeah.
Michigan's back. Back to what?
Yeah,
splitting a national title in 1997.
The early 2000s is that what we're back to? Where every now and then
getting
you go to
stomped by USC
every now and then
in the
we go to the
Rose
Rose Bowl and get shit on. Like that's
having
what it
Vince
is.
Young ram his fist down your throat. Like, what are we talking about? Michigan's
that's all it is.
back.
Like we're back to being the team that wins the Big Ten and is shit because you haven't won the Big Ten. So what are you back to?
And that's the most Michigan. We have a national title in 1997 that you split with Nebraska, and it was the first one you won since 1948. I don't want to hear about it.
Shout out to you, Cordell Stewart.
We're the winningest program in college football history. It's because you beat Ann Arbor High School after you taught them how to play. I don't want to hear about it. You think I'm joking, but 1903, let's bring the YMCA into Ann Arbor, teach them to play football, and then kick their ass. And we're going to count that as a win. Put it in the library.
They lost the winning percentage or something this week, didn't they?
I hope. Fuck them.
Somebody won.
I hate their guts, man. I don't know what you want me to say.
And
this is probably where the Michigan people listening to this podcast will get lost because now it's become Spartan fan just shitting on them.
Yeah.
And I don't have any right to do it because my program stinks too. But you know what?
We just said that. Like, we just openly admitted that we're shit.
Let's both wallow in our despair and understand that it's going to be a really rough year for collegiate football in the state. But hey, the Lions are undefeated.
You got Juwan Howard. Good luck this year.
Can we not talk about Michigan basketball because they're in trouble too? I mean, they're in trouble. If I'm on it, and I don't want to be too much of a dick, but if you're sitting on your ass at home waiting for Michigan basketball because you think Juwan Howard's gonna keep pushing your program forward the same way John Beilein did, I got a surprise for you, pal. It's not going to happen.
No. And the hype around that home opener when I'm sure the Fab Five will be there. Jalen Rose will be there, and Weber might be there for the first time in God knows how long. Everybody will blow it way up, and then they'll just be old Michigan basketball pre-Beilein.
17 and 15, coming in hot.
Beilein was so good. I don't want to jump into a basketball tangent real quick, but Beilein made Michigan basketball something it never was before. He didn't go and try to steal recruits from Izzo. He didn't go and try to steal recruits from everybody. He knew he wasn't getting those guys. He found the guys that fit. Juwan Howard is not going to do that. He's going to try to get the 5-star guys.
And the other thing Beilein did that made Michigan basketball something it never was before, he built it without cheating.
Seriously.
I don't want to hear about the Fab Five and how Michigan was a great program in the 90s. No. Michigan cheated in the 90s.
Right, exactly.
They cheated their asses off in the 90s.
And you look at it like Izzo goes and gets a Jaren Jackson and a Miles Bridges and he makes him a top pick. Beilein takes Nick Stauskas and makes him a top pick.
Right.
That's and I'm not saying, anybody can make Jaren Jackson and Miles Bridges. No, I give Izzo credit for that, absolutely. But those guys are 5-stars. And they'll go play for Izzo. Beilein can take Nick Stauskas out of Mississauga, Ontario, and put him in. I mean, he's garbage. He's playing overseas now.
Pulled Draymond Green out of Flint.
Exactly.
Or Saginaw, wherever.
Juwan Howard, the point being, Juwan Howard is not going after Nick Stauskas. Juwan Howard is not going to sign Stu Douglas and Zach Novak in the backcourt. It's going to be way different.
I don't know. I don't think anybody's coming to Michigan. No recruit is looking at Michigan and going, I get to be one of Juwan Howard's
Do you think Jalen Rose will have my phone number?
Yeah. I get to work out with Chris Webber. Like, nobody's looking at the Fab Five. They're looking at Coach K and Duke and making $100 million and going to following Zion Williamson's footsteps. They're looking at Cal, who's going to give him a salary to play at Kentucky.
You want a Lincoln Navigator? I got a dealership.
They're not looking at living in Ann Arbor, and I don't think Michigan State's pulling recruits like that either. Michigan State can sit in Vernon Carey Jr. They lost out on.
They lose out on every big guy to Duke.
Izzo doesn't want to give him a salary.
Yeah, it's every guy that goes to Duke. It's every time it comes down to the last two, and it's Duke or Michigan State or the last 2 or 3. I know they're not going to Michigan State because if they haven't decided early they want to play for Izzo, they're not going to decide late because all they're waiting for is Izzo to be like, "Hey, I'll give you some money," and it's never going to happen.
That was the Monday Mashup's brief college basketball preview tangent that we had there. Lions. Undefeated, but do you feel good about it?
No. They started 2-0 with Joey Harrington once upon a time, and I didn't feel good about that either. I mean...
This feels better than that. I'll say that.
Absolutely. It definitely feels better than that. But the offense is just not what anyone thinks it should be. Like, Matt Stafford is a gunslinger who's been turned into a game manager, and maybe in a sense that's a good thing. But if Deshaun Jackson plays in this game, if Alshon Jeffrey plays in this game, if the Eagles don't give up a kick return touchdown, like, this is a way different game. If Jason Peters plays in this game, it's a way different game. I just don't think the Lions are any good.
Well, and I think my thing with this game is if they went and they blew the Eagles out, I was going to feel really like maybe we do need to have a discussion about this team if they go on the road and blow somebody out. Because even if you're banged up, you're still playing an NFL team.
Right, exactly.
When you go and you win 27-24 and you do everything in your power to not win that game at the end of it. I mean, they gave the ball back to Carson Wentz twice.
And I mean, like, they're set, like, they're on their third left tackle in Philly right now. Like, you can get pressure with 4 and they're still completing passes to open receivers.
Nelson Aguilar is their number 1 wide receiver, and they still put up 24. Yeah. Like, I don't want to get too excited about this. No. And my thing with this is, in the NFL, you're going to have games like this, and you have to go and capitalize, and you have to take care of business. And the Lions did that. Give them credit where credit is due.
And they've been okay in Philly.
Does that mean that I think next week when the Chiefs come to town, the Lions are going to take care of business? No, I think the Chiefs are probably going to drop 45 on your head, run out of town after kicking you in the face.
I think the Ravens are the 3rd best team in the AFC, and you saw what the Chiefs did to them.
The Chiefs might be the fastest team I've ever seen.
So quick,
and I'll tell you something.
It happens so quick.
Now that the Patriots don't have Antonio Brown, it's a much more level playing field. Yeah, I think the Patriots are still the better team because that defense is really good.
Yeah, I can't wait to see N'Keal Harry.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's so many things we still haven't seen with them. Ben Watson hasn't even played yet.
Exactly, yeah. And Gronk's coming back week 14.
Of course. But no, I think the Chiefs are coming in. They're going to, I mean, honestly, they're going to punch you in the mouth.
Yeah. Oh, no.
They're going to leave with your...
I'm fully expecting it.
They're going to leave with your lunch.
Yeah. There's going to be so many... Like, if Darius Slay had a hammy today, too. If Darius Slay can't play, this is going to get ugly fast.
Oh, yeah. Then the Packers the week after.
The Packers...
I don't want to say the Packers are great.
I don't think they're good, but I still think they're going to run away with the NFC North because the Bears are not good.
The other thing is it's a Sunday night football game. Mm-hmm. Or Monday night football game. Whatever. It's a primetime game. Yeah. The good news for the Lions is they'll be coming off of a bye week. And it's a Monday night. So you get 15 days to prep for Green Bay. So I think there's a chance that you can win that game. The bad news for the Lions is you are getting a week 3 bye. Or week 5 bye, excuse me. So the week 5 bye is nice because you get to prep for the Packers and get a head up on if you win that game, you're looking good for the division. But then you have a gauntlet stretch where you don't have a bye week and you've got to play Minnesota. You got to play Minnesota twice. You got to play Chicago twice. Really, the schedule the rest of the way. The schedule the rest of the way is easy enough that I think they should go to the playoffs. But I'm not going to say that they will.
Are 3 NFC North teams getting in the playoffs, though?
No, I don't think the Vikings will.
But Bears and the Packers.
I don't think the Bears will either.
What, like, of the Vikings or the Bears, one of those teams has got to get in the playoffs, right?
Not if the Lions do instead.
That's what I'm saying, but I don't think the Lions are getting in because one of those teams...
But who's off to the better start? I mean, the Bears are 1-1. They look terrible offensively.
They are.
They look really bad.
If this keeps up, it's like you have so much committed that you might have to make a move at quarterback.
And that's where I do have to give credit to the Lions because you should be 3-0, but you've done enough to start 2-0-1 that, hey, you have a chance here to maybe not win the division depending on what you do with the Packers, but you do have a chance to make the playoffs. I don't know if they're good enough to win a playoff game, but I think we can expect a playoff appearance at this point. I think that's safe. And
I would
that's
never expect a playoff
You know what I'm
appearance
saying?
from
That's
the
where
Lions.
we are now moving the field goal posts because
For sure.
you start 2-0-1. You play the Chiefs. Obviously, that's a loss. You're 2-1-1. Go on the road to the Packers after a bye on Monday night. You've swept the Packers each of the last 2 years. They haven't looked great. Get that win. You're
Packers defense is a new
3-1-1.
defense, though. Like, even if, like, take away the Packers, through next week, you're through a quarter of your season and you only have one loss, of course you have to think playoffs.
Yeah,
Right?
If you start 3-1-1,
Sure.
playoff. Even if you start 3-2 or 2-2-1, you can think playoffs.
But, like,
When you
even
play
right
the
away,
Giants, Raiders, Bears, I mean, the only hard game the rest of the way after at Green Bay, Vikings twice, sure, Bears twice if you want to call them difficult, but I think those are two bad teams.
their defenses are good.
You play the Cowboys on the 17th of November.
Who I'm still not, like, another one, Kellen Moore. I would love to hire him if that doesn't work out, by the way. But either
Michigan,
way.
throw a bag at
throw a
Kellen
bag at
Moore.
Kellen Moore. As long as Jerry Jones doesn't do it first. But either way, like, I'm not exactly sold on Dallas entirely yet. I think they've played bad teams. I think they should have beaten Miami by a lot more than they beat Miami by because it's Miami. But 31-6 is a blowout in the NFL. You win by 25 points, it's a blowout. Just considering what's happened in Miami the last 2 weeks.
They
You
covered the
imagine-
spread.
Exactly.
They covered a historic
Right.
spread.
You would imagine they would kill them even more just because of what's happened the last 2 weeks. But yeah, I mean, theoretically, you start 2-1-1, you should be thinking playoffs. You look at their schedule, you should definitely be thinking playoffs. You're absolutely right. I just don't think there's going to be 3 NFC North teams getting in, and I think Green Bay's defense is so good coupled with Aaron. This is the first time Aaron Rodgers has ever looked around and been like, I don't have to do that much because my defense is so good.
I mean, he was letting LaFleur have it last week. So I don't think Aaron Rodgers is ever going to be all the way happy.
No, I'm not saying he's all the way happy. I just think it's the first time he's looked at his defense and thought, these guys
Since
can help
winning
me.
the Super Bowl, yes.
Exactly, yeah.
And but I'm ready to say the Packers defense is good.
Oh, yeah,
I've
hell
been
yeah.
holding out on it, but I'm ready to say it, I
Yeah,
think.
they got
Hey, if again, you're going to get tattooed by the Chiefs, but if you can beat the Packers on the road and start this season 3-1-1,
I just want to go tempo next week and just try and shoot out with the Chiefs.
are the Chiefs the second best team in football? I would love to see that. I think that's the best thing you can do.
Don't try and slow them down because they're going to hit 80-yard touchdowns to Mecole Hardman. It's going to happen.
Get into the game that the Rams got into with them.
Exactly.
Play them
Do
54-51.
it.
Because anytime Pat Mahomes gets into those games, he loses.
And it's Pat Mahomes
That's
on
the
turf
only way
in
you're
a
going to
dome.
beat him.
Like, yeah, like you know he's going to dime it up out there. Like, just try and do it too. You got Matt Stafford. Just tell him go sling it.
Speaking of diming it up, if we go around the league a little bit, Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes, baby.
Eli
Ooh,
Jr.
boy.
I
He
mean,
put on a show. The Lions, and I want to make sure that we talk about the Lions for Prime Slay. I want to make sure we do more than 10 minutes. Our friend on Twitter,
yeah,
at Prime
here's,
Slay, let us know
shout
that
out to you.
as a Detroit podcast, we need to speak on the Lions for more than 10 minutes an episode. So I want to mix in here while we talk about Daniel Jones beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers today and giving the Giants their first win in what seems like a decade.
When I walked in here, I didn't even realize they had won.
Yeah,
I was like, you were like,
said,
Daniel
"Wait a
Jones
minute."
was good. I was like, oh yeah, he was solid. When I left, they were like down, I think 14 or something in the third quarter, and I was like, yeah, this one's over. Like,
No, yeah, they
I
won.
came in, and was like, oh, they won.
So it's Lion adjacent because the Lions play them in week 7.
Perfect.
Week
There you go.
8.
They're on the schedule. Counts.
So we are talking Lions.
There you go.
No, I think you go around the league today. You're right. The Cowboys could have looked better. The first half was just really sloppy. The second half, they looked pretty dominant.
Yeah.
I think you look at, again, Patriots, Chiefs, two best teams in football.
Mm-hmm.
Patriots looked a little sloppier today, especially in special teams and on.
Been a choppy week.
But yeah, there was a lot going on in Foxborough. So I think now they're going to be stable going forward.
I think they're pretty happy to put that. As amazing as he was for 1 week, even if it was against the Dolphins, I think they're happy that this is put to bed now.
And there's reports that teammates or players in the Patriot locker room were not happy that he was released. I have to imagine after the Twitter meltdown this morning,
I think that's over.
I have to imagine Patriots players are like, maybe this was
Those
for the
feelings have
best.
dissipated. That's,
If you didn't see Antonio Brown's Twitter meltdown this morning, he had his Britney Spears moment. He essentially
He's
shaved
had
his head.
5 Britney Spears moments in the last month and a half.
What I saw this morning was drama I have never seen in the NFL. It was he damn near hijacked an entire NFL Sunday. There was no chance Antonio Brown was taking Sundays off, even though he got fired.
No.
And that first tweet, I'm not playing in the NFL anymore. That's the most "you can't fire me, I quit"
exactly.
that I have ever seen.
Exactly. These owners are voiding $40 million in a month and a half. Yo, dude, the first one happened. Quit fucking the money up. Quit fucking the money up. Don't tweet. There's a clause in your contract that says they can void a $5 million payment they owe you literally today, because this is on Monday. Literally today, they owe him $5 million, and they don't have to pay him because there's language in the contract that says if he does anything in the media that's detrimental, we don't have to pay him.
And I know I'm biased. I'm a Patriots fan, but I don't want to act like Bill Belichick was doing this out of some feeling of nobility when he cut Antonio Brown. The whole point of cutting Antonio Brown was you can do bad shit. We don't care if you do bad shit off the field. Just don't do it when you're on our roster.
Exactly.
And as soon as he sent that text to his accuser in a group chat with pictures of her kids,
Exactly.
Belichick was like, listen, I no longer can trust you.
No.
You're doing bad things while you're on my team. You're not on my team
The
anymore.
Patriots are the absolute epitome of we won't bring up old shit. All the old shit doesn't matter. Just don't do it now. We will never bring up old shit. It doesn't matter if you're Randy Moss and you mooned a team or it's straight cash, whatever. We don't care as long as when you're here, you're good. But the second the old shit becomes new again, you're gone.
Randy Moss, out.
We won't bring up old shit, so you just don't bring up old shit. That's all it is.
That's really, and it was one of the most spectacular meltdowns I've ever seen. I mean, from going from thank you for the opportunity at Patriots, go win it for me,
win it. Yeah.
to hey, Rob Kraft got a rub down
was in the parlor.
in a parlor, and
Parlor is the best line. Rob Kraft was in the parlor. Yes, he was.
and Robert Kraft
Twice.
I thought of that Dave Chappelle. I don't know if you've seen it, but he does a stand-up bit, and he's talking about a time he did stand-up in Detroit, and he got booed off the stage, and people were throwing shit at him, and people were chanting, "We want our money back!" And Dave Chappelle stood on the stage and said, "You will never get your fucking money back." I could not think of anything other than that when I was looking at this tweet at Rob Kraft, because I know Rob Kraft was sitting in the luxury box at Gillette Stadium, and he read that tweet, and he said, "You will never see that fucking money. You will never see that $5 million.
I'm never signing that check. No way.
He went at Shannon Sharp.
Gonna do the semi-pro thing with Jackie Moon. Be like, yeah, it's a big check. Take it to a bigger bank.
The thing about the Shannon Sharp deal, dude, and I'm telling you, Monday morning, and I know that people are listening to this probably Monday afternoon, Tuesday. Right. We're recording it on Sunday night, so at the time of taping, Undisputed at 9 a.m. on Monday is maybe the most excited I've been for a sports talk television program in years, because Antonio Brown tweeted that Shannon Sharp gets to be the funny guy
That's
on
what
TV.
he called him, the funny guy.
But he has a sexual assault case in his past.
Ben Roethlisberger got 4 games.
Did you see Shannon Sharp's tweet in response to
No,
him? He tweeted out, "I just want Antonio Brown to know this," and it was a screenshot of an article related to that charge. The woman who accused him was proven to be falsifying the accusation and is in jail.
Yeah.
Antonio Brown tweeted, "Shannon Sharp gets to be the funny guy." So Shannon Sharp tagged AB in this post.
Exactly.
I can't wait to watch Undisputed tomorrow. He's going to go nuclear.
Everybody just licking their chops, seeing these things happen on Twitter. Oh, the ratings are going through the roof tomorrow.
And yeah, for AB then to go, Big Ben got 4 games, which, okay, you have a point with that one. I'm not going to lie to you.
That was twice. You did it twice.
You have a point with the Big Ben stuff. But the other thing is, the whole point this entire time has been, don't tweet.
Yeah. Today was the first day that I ever felt a modicum of sadness for Ben Roethlisberger, where I was like, damn, he's got a torn up elbow. He can't even play. And AB's just going to drag him. Like, if you ever do that, you deserve to be dragged in. But, he's just like, I'm going to drag Ben Roethlisberger through the mud on the first Sunday that he can't play.
He was like, I can't play football today, but neither can Ben, and I want to remind him that we're not fucking friends anymore.
Let's put this out there so one day Ben's kids can see it.
I think, like, dude, honestly, Antonio Brown saw Tekashi 6ix9ine snitching on everybody, and he was like,
Tekashi Snitch9.
I gotta go that route. I gotta just throw everyone under the bus, and maybe I can get
Seems
back
to be
in.
where I'll get witness protection. I'll never have to pay for a meal again. Perfect.
I've never seen somebody roll on people so fast as Tekashi 6ix9ine.
I mean, the video of him, not to go off on a Tekashi 6ix9ine, but the video of him getting kidnapped was utterly like, holy shit, this stuff actually happens?
Oh,
I
man.
have lived such a sheltered life.
That was one of the more wild court proceedings. It's also, if you can read the deposition, don't watch it because it's not as funny.
no,
but if
read
you
it,
read
read
the
it.
deposition,
It's like-
it is some of the funniest reading
It's
I've
like
ever
reading
seen in
the
my
Donald
life.
Sterling deposition, except instead of sex, it's all like gang stuff about old rappers.
It is super funny. What was it? Do you know who?
Jim Jones.
Yes. Do you know who Jim Jones is? Yes, he's a retired rapper.
Who put out a CD in May.
Just,
Like, yeah.
just a tremendous
Not a CD,
deposition.
but an album. Yeah.
Just a tremendous deposition. What a week for news.
Great week.
From Tekashi Snitch9 to Antonio Brown.
To Mike Pence bringing cars on Mackinac Island.
Oh boy, I don't even want to get into the political stuff.
Well, that's just a dick.
Oh, and then Andrew Yang, a Democratic primary candidate.
He's really trying to get into sports Twitter.
Yeah, he went on Twitter today and said the reason the Patriots have been so good is because the AFC East is so bad. Which, honestly, if you're trying for public appeal, not a bad move. It was
Get
pretty
into
good.
it. Realize that
Gotta
everybody
respect
on
it.
Twitter is just mad or a Russian bot, and they're not the people that go vote. But yeah, come on in, wade into the waters.
The Belichick death stare was fantastic.
Always is. Never
Classic
disappoints.
Belichick. People were pissed. This isn't right. He signed Antonio Brown. He needs to discuss this. He also cut Antonio Brown, and that's all he
discuss
needs
shit.
to tell you about his opinion on Antonio Brown. He's not on the roster anymore. Not going to talk about him.
Exactly. He'll literally never bring him up again.
That's
It's
it.
like he played here for 1 week. Like, what, did they ever talk about Chad Ochocinco?
Bill, we were wondering if you have any comments on Antonio Brown. Who? That's,
don't know him.
That's how it's going to be the rest of the way. Forget it. We're on to Buffalo. What else happened in the NFL today? Nothing really exciting.
No, the Kansas City-Baltimore game got close at the end, but still not great. Oakland made Kirk Cousins look good, which is awful. Just awful. But
He's so bad.
yeah, he's not good at all. The Chargers are the best 1 and 2 team I think I can remember in 10 years.
Who's the better bad team, the Lions or the Chargers?
It's like, I know that the Lions beat them, but I'm still taking the Chargers.
I would too. I think when they're fully healthy, when they have Derwin James, when Melvin Gordon
Yeah, I was
starts
just saying,
playing,
if by some miracle Melvin Gordon gets in,
he's going to play this year.
I
He's
hope.
not Le'Veon Bell.
No.
Every report has said like week 6 he's back. So, and I think he wants to be a Charger. Is that all we got? We dragged Michigan for a really long time.
good. I'm trying to think of anything else we got.
There's no NBA content, but that's coming
Yeah,
shortly.
You can go on like a mini rant about Steph Curry just deciding he gets to play for the Olympics and pretending that there isn't a selection committee.
I don't have any mini. Okay, let's do this. Let's do like 5 minutes on what happened with Team USA because we haven't discussed it at all. And I think we on Detroit Sports Podcast are the primary basketball knowledge people.
Tuning in for all their World Cup analysis.
That's no insult to John or to Adam or to Vito, but listen, guys, I think we are the primary voices on this network
I would imagine.
of the NBA. And what happened with Team USA, I'm not super stoked for the Celtics season
You
anymore.
took a Plumlee.
But
What did you
yes.
think was gonna happen?
I think when who was building this team? And I know it was like everybody decided they weren't going to play.
Right.
Like we would have had Andre Drummond, but he couldn't be reached. We would have had LeBron, but it went straight to voicemail every time I called him. We would have had Anthony Davis, but same deal. Kawhi,
So we decided on
find
Harrison
him.
Barnes to play the 4. It'll be great. No, it won't be great.
Kawhi scheduled a meeting with Pop for Team USA and then had coffee with Paul George down the street instead.
When you're trying to guard Rudy Gobert with Harrison Barnes, when you're trying to match up with a French team that's been playing with each other forever, you knew something like that was going to happen. I'd thought it would be the Serbians, which eventually it was, but either way, those two teams were primed to beat you. And they wanted to beat you. They smelled blood in the water, and they ate you. That's really all it was. That's what the World Cup was. A bunch of guys who weren't ready for the moment quite yet, and Kemba.
Tatum.
But he got hurt.
Yeah, but he played well. And that's the other thing. They maybe don't lose to France if Tatum plays.
Exactly.
So, but I do think as much as I want to paint it in the way that many Celtics fans are painting it and go, this doesn't have any bearing on our season. Well, it kind of does.
In a sense, but at the same time, like I get that there were multiple Celtics there, but you know what?
The Celtics won't have Chris Middleton not able to throw
but
a
Bucks
ball
will.
in the ocean off a boat.
But the Bucks will.
Gave a max to a guy who can't, like, oh, the FIBA game's different. Yeah, it's not different enough that Chris Middleton, a max contract player, can't score 10 points in a game.
It's still basketball. Like, it's still basketball.
You know
gets
what?
paid $180 million to play it for 82
You know what?
games.
It's actually easier because the 3-point line is shorter
Exactly.
and there's more space.
Exactly, and the players you're playing against are not as good. Like,
It's actually, you're playing Serbia. You're not playing the Lakers. It's actually an easier
you're being
game.
guarded by a dude who plays in the Serbian B League.
Why can't Chris Middleton score 10 points? Well, it's because Giannis isn't playing with him. Or it's because he's bad.
No,
I
it's
don't-
because he's bad. It's like, why
What do
can't
you-
he score 10
what do you
points when
mean?
Giannis doesn't play? Because he's bad.
Brooke Lopez, where did his 3-point shot go? I don't know. He's had it for one season out of like a 15-year career. Maybe that was the anomaly.
Mike Budenholzer's system tends to make guys who can shoot look really, really good. Kyle Korver was an all-star for Atlanta. Like, Chris Middleton is just not good enough for you to bring and tell me, oh yeah, we're really excited for what's going on. I'm like, how? You
Which
have Chris
Plumlee was
Middleton.
it? Was it Miles or Mason?
The blonde one.
Oh, okay. That's helpful.
Yep. There's one's in the military, one's not, and one's blonde. Like, that's what I know about the Plumlee.
Essentially, my thing with the Celtics is, yes, they had the most players on Team USA, and so, yes, there should be worry going into the season. There should have been worry anywhere. Their bench unit is rookies.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean?
Fair. They did win. Oh, they didn't. They won the summer league.
Yeah, no, they didn't.
Lost Memphis.
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, I think they lost in the semifinal.
They were the most electric team at the summer league.
Absolutely,
hands down.
Carson Edwards was incredible,
yes,
and
so-
Romeo Langford didn't even play.
Exactly. So you have
And by the
a
way,
positive look there.
Romeo Langford is closer to CJ McCollum than Carson Edwards, and Carson Edwards is not that far from CJ McCollum. So,
I mean, CJ's really good. I don't want to say a guy who's never played in the NBA is as good as CJ.
well, no,
McCollum,
but I'm the type of player and
Sure,
the development track.
sure,
That's what you're looking at.
Sure.
Carson is well, he can't fucking finish to save his life, but Romeo is a much more polished finisher, and the only reason he couldn't hit shots was because he has the same injury that Drew Brees is currently sitting out of the NFL for,
And also,
for 6 to 8 weeks.
He's 19, so give him some time.
No, I do think there's promise for the Celtics. I don't take a ton out of Team USA. My big thing is, don't take a Plumlee.
No.
And maybe you would have done better. But I think the other thing is, like, I got a little pissed off when Popovich was doing his holier than thou act, and he's like, you can't be mad that we lost. You don't love America. No. You can't take Team USA to a basketball competition and finish 8th.
It's like
That's not allowed.
Since there is no international American football, there's obviously international football, but it's not the football we play here that we actually like. This is the sport. When we go around the world, we're supposed to dominate this one.
Women's soccer and basketball.
Exactly. Like, there is no football for us to dominate. We are not as good at baseball as the Latin American countries. This is the one. Like, why can't we win it every time? Even with a B team, we should be able to win it. And that's just because they were like a C team outside of 5 guys.
We were the only team in the FIBA World Cup that had 15 NBA players, and we finished in 8th. That just...
Not okay.
That should... No, Pop, you got to kind of take a little blame here. You did a bad job.
Exactly.
Steve Kerr's got to take a little blame here. He did a bad job. But that's where Steph Curry's getting it in now. Well, I'm going to play in the Olympics. It's because when he inevitably hurts himself by taking on a much larger workload this season with the Warriors, and let's be honest, he is injury prone. When his ankle at some point is like, listen, bro, take a couple months off.
Yeah.
At the end of the year, he's going to go, well, I wanted to play in the Olympics, but my ankle is it exploded. I
And
can't
even
do it.
then, like, everybody who's ever listened to these podcasts knows how I feel about Steph Curry as a basketball player and how underrated I think he is, even despite he's a 2-time MVP, and I love him, and he's
probably
great.
top 5 all time.
Exactly.
Top 7 all time.
I hate the look of a guy saying, yes, I'm planning on playing for them before an invitation has been extended to him to play for them. I understand that an invitation is coming. He's Steph Curry.
But he doesn't, I'm okay with it. He doesn't need one.
I know, but like, are there guys who don't need one? Like, I
Yes.
know, like, LeBron can be
LeBron
like, yeah,
doesn't
I'm
need
going.
one. Kawhi doesn't need one.
But it just seems so like the timing of it. They just lost, and now you're like, yep, don't worry, I'm going to save them. It's like, yo, you said no in 2016. And the quote, part of what that stuck with me is the quote he gave to Rachel where he said, it's something I've always wanted. I have the World Cup, I have this. Like, if it's something you always wanted 4 years ago, you had a chance. You're coming off an MVP season. It was your turn to go and be the star, and instead Coach K started Kyrie and made him the star. Why didn't you go then? Like, and I want him to go. I want him to go in 2020.
Probably it was tough to go in 2016 after you just wasted the best regular season in NBA history.
Draymond, Clay, and Harrison Barnes were there. And Kevin Durant, your new teammate. Like, if you were going to go then.
That's the other thing that's really funny to me is that people look at this team and they're like, I don't know if anybody's going to get the boost that most guys get from Team USA. Look at what happened to LeBron when he went in 2004. Look at what happened to Kevin Durant when he went in 2008. Buddy, it's because he's fucking Kevin Durant.
Like, dude.
Like, it's got nothing to do with the fact he went and played with Team USA. He's Kevin Durant.
Literally.
Look what happened when LeBron went and played. Look what happened when James Harden went and played. We're talking about 3 of the best offensive players who have ever lived.
And, like, I am fully expecting an A team. Like, when they go in 2020 next year, like, I'm fully expecting an A team. I don't think LeBron's going to go. Like, I can't imagine why he would other than to sell shoes. It's China and they want him to sell shoes. But I'm expecting a James Harden.
Oh, it is China, isn't it?
Yeah.
Gordon Hayward just had that Anta contract.
Yeah, I don't know if those guys don't go, that's another guy.
If he has an all-star season.
Exactly. That's another guy who fits in as like a role, like Tayshaun Prince on Team USA. Just go out there and do one thing. Like in the international game, I think you need that.
Gordon Hayward's going to go over to China and spread Trump's good word.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh.
I think that's a good spot to leave this podcast.
Right. Oh, I wasn't expecting that one. That took me off. I was going to make a joke about his wife and streaming, but I will stay with that one.
No. We don't need to do that. We can save that for like November when Gordon Hayward has a bad game, and we can maybe play the audio of Robin Hayward screaming at him to stop playing video games.
All right, guys, I got time for one more. No, you don't. You said one more. Sounded like a 5-year-old talking to his mother.
Okay, I am going to do a tangent on this right now because he said, Robin, one more, please. He literally said it just like that. Robin, one more, please. And she said, no, it's not fair to the kids.
Daddy's always happy.
It's not fair to the kids. He said, one more, please, Robin, please.
Robin
and the guy,
Hayward.
Whoever he was playing with, I can't remember what they said. Oh, jeez, man. All right.
See you later. It's so great.
I do genuinely feel bad for Gordon Hayward. This is one of the more wild tangents we've gone on in this podcast, but I do genuinely feel bad for him.
It's tough. Was it Horford's girlfriend or wife or sister or something? Sister said something on Twitter.
That was some tweet.
Yeah.
That was some tweet. For people who don't know, Anna Horford, Al Horford's sister, occasionally gets drunk and does AMAs on Twitter.
Awesome.
Which, for those who don't know, is Ask Me Anything.
Yes.
And so she said, I'm going to get drunk tonight, ask me questions. And most of them were like, who's the best teammate that Al's ever played with? And she would be like, Marcus Smart. And then some of them were like, if you could slap one of Al Horford's teammates in the face, who would it be? And she was like, Jay Crowder. And then 20 minutes later, she deleted it because she was like, I maybe shouldn't have said that.
I might have to see Jay Crowder eventually.
But basically, everybody took that to mean Jay Crowder made a play.
Yeah,
and then there was finally a question that was, have you ever met Robin Hayward? And if so, what are your thoughts on her? And Anna Horford responded, and I quote, yes, no comment. That tells you everything you need to know, I think.
Yes, she's from Indiana. Yeah.
Oh boy. All right, I wasn't expecting that, but hey, here we are.
It's a great place to end it.
Thanks for listening, folks.
See you next week.